All right. Aloha, everyone. We're going to start off a little slow and see who shows up for in the next couple minutes. I'm just going to introduce what we are doing here for the first little bit. Welcome to the Currents of Curiosity series. This is a brand new webinar series that we are developing so that we can talk about all things ocean related. We're going to be diving in a little deeper on some stories and some other cool projects throughout all things ocean related. And we're going to be talking to experts both from within our foundation and outside it. So we're super excited to be able to kick this off with all of you today. Since this is a new program, if you enjoy this today, please don't hesitate to share with all of your friends who might be interested. This is something that we're really proud of, and we're really excited to showcase this awesome work that we are doing. Before we jump too far into things today, I did want to do a couple housekeeping things. If at any point during this webinar you have a question, we have a Q&A button up at the top. Feel free to type in a question at any point during the presentation. And then at the end, we're going to answer all of those questions. So feel free to type that in and we'll answer everything at the end. There'll be a time that we can go ahead and set aside for that. Also, if you are worried, this is going to be recorded. So we are going to send out an email probably after the webinar today with all sorts of information about website links that we're talking about throughout the course of this and the recorded version of this so that you can go back and rewatch however many times that you want. So today we are very excited to be able to kick off this Currents of Curiosity webinar series within our Pacific Whale Foundation Ohana with Susan Frett, Brianna Simon, and Lauren Spencer joining us today, who are representing the education, conservation, and outreach teams. So we are going to get started, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Susan Frett, our programs director here at Pacific Whale Foundation.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm super excited to be here as part of this new webinar series. I would like to take a moment and introduce the team. Caitlin, if you can progress to the next slide. Thank you. So we have an awesome Eco Programs team here at Pacific Whale Foundation, and Eco Programs stands for Education, Conservation, and Outreach. So on this slide, starting in the upper left corner, we have Lead Education Specialist Lauren Spencer, who is here today to share about the education programs. Nicole Belknap and Lei Kaloma Naho'o Ikaika are also education specialists on our team. And that team leads programs such as our Keiki Whale Watch, Ocean Camp, and Ocean Career Quest programs, and are also important members of our outreach team, lending their expertise especially to our For Da Keiki Events and Mālama Pono activities. Next up, we have Jess Hunsucker, who is our Conservation and Outreach Coordinator. Jess's major focus is coordinating our Mālama Pono program, which we're going to hear a lot more about later in this webinar. And then in the bottom row, first on the left, is Bree Simon, who is also here today to share about our programs. Bree is our conservation biologist and outreach supervisor. Then we have Ken's Perillo, who is a conservation biologist, focusing mainly on our coral reef programs. JJ Fryer is our conservation and outreach analyst, organizing all of our data and a lot of our cleanup work. I'm really proud of this team and all the work that we've done together over the last year.
Awesome. Mahalo, Susan. I'll advance us to the next slide over. Again, my name is Bree Simon. I work for Pacific Whale Foundation as the Conservation Biologist and Outreach Supervisor. I just wanted to thank all of you guys for joining us on our first webinar series. It's very exciting. And I wanted to spend a few moments talking about the Lahaina wildfire response. We, as an organization, Pacific Well Foundation and Paco Eco Adventures, quickly responded to frontline relief. If you look at the bottom left photo, there is Jess and Lay in our discovery classroom, which is usually used as the ocean camp area and educational programs area at our facility in Ma'alaya. We quickly filled up this space with a lot of supplies that were being dropped off from community members or were being shipped in from the continent. So mahalo nui for anyone who's listening and attending this webinar for dropping off so many needed supplies. We took those supplies that were being dropped off from our discovery classroom, our Ohana Hub is what we were calling it at the time in August and September, to our vessels in our fleets, and we were doing deliveries on the west side, mostly with Ocean Spirit, where we could do beach loading. So we would load all of the needed goods onto this boat and would do beach loading, dropping it all off, and community members on the west side were able to grab the needed supplies. And we did this 2 to 3 times a day for 2 weeks straight. And it was everyone from the organization coming together and help, and people who were outside of the organization who just wanted to help. People who lost their homes and everything in a matter of hours were here the next day after to try to support their community. So that effort was amazing to see. I often think about that time, and we used that Ohana Hub for that following month through August and September. And community members would come in and get the supplies they needed. But once they open access to the road to the west side, we quickly mobilized those items. So the next photo is actually our team on the west side at one of the hubs there, trying to figure out what was needed. All of these hubs had different lists that we would note down and try to go out the next day to get as many of those supplies and then deliver those supplies the following day after that. So we mobilized 26,000 items. Thanks to everyone for contributing to all of that. And then we also started to do a water delivery program. So homes on the west side and upcountry did not have access to clean, safe drinking water from the day of the fires, August 8th, 2023, until for Kula, it was November. So from that time to November, they did not have safe drinking water. And so we were able to start this program to deliver them water in a more sustainable way where we weren't using single-use plastics. We had these 5-gallon, 3-gallon jugs and delivered a lot of water up to Kula, and then went to the west side and delivered waters on that Lahaina by Lahaina Bypass Road, Kilauea Mauka side to the homes there that did not have water. Until last month, actually, July, they got their water advisory lifted. So we delivered 1,901 gallons to residents in Kula and Lahaina, which I did some of the math here. It's 14,398 ounces of water, or actually the water bottles itself. So if you were to divide that 1,901 gallons of water into the water bottles, it would be 14,400 almost. So we saved a lot of that plastic. We try to do everything environmentally minded. And so that was something that was our biggest focus for a long time. And then our team was and is so amazing, and we still know that there is a need during the recovery of the Lahaina wildfire. And so we just keep an open ear, and we've made some amazing partners along the way. But this was just our immediate impact and frontline relief that we provided for the wildfire responses. So mahalo to everyone who was able to donate items, goods, or monetarily donations, because that helped a lot and it went a long way. And with that, I will pass it off to Lolo for more of a discussion of our educational scholarships.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bree. My name is Lauren Spencer. I'm the lead education specialist with Pacific Well Foundation. I'm going to dive a little bit into the opportunities education was able to provide since the Maui wildfires. We have two separate programs we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about our camp programs. So our camp programs, we have our Ocean Camp program, which is focused on our 2nd to 5th graders. It's about creating a fun week of exploring the ocean together. There are different themes of the week, which can be really fun, from Are You Afraid of the Dark, focusing on the deep ocean, to focusing on various marine animals. Very fun for our 2nd to 5th graders. We also have our Ocean Career Quest program. This is a program that is centered on our middle schoolers, very career oriented, helping them understand the marine science and conservation space and what kind of paths they can take looking into careers in that area. So for our programs, we were able to provide 77 campers with full scholarships to both Ocean Camp and Ocean Career Quest. So it was a pretty amazing feat. For our fall Ocean Camp directly after the Maui wildfires, we centered only on serving our displaced keiki from the west side. We were able at this camp to provide both transportation from the west side every morning and every afternoon at the end of camp. We are also able to provide full catering. So these kids had meals and transportation for their camp days. That was an amazing experience to serve those keiki, and we're able to continue those scholarships into the rest of 2024 as well. Next, we have our Keiki Whale Watch programs. For Keiki Whale Watch this season, we are able to serve a massive amount of students. This is a program that's centered on school field trips. So our team is able to go to schools to provide presentations and classroom programs about our humpback whales. And then we're able to take either these individual classes or entire grade levels out onto the boat with us. This season, we served about 3,600 students, an amazing number, close to our record, which was pre-pandemic. So exciting to get back up to that number. And of these students, 2/3 were fully scholarship coming from Title I schools. So that was about 2,388 students received full scholarships to join our Keiki Whale Watch program. That was super amazing to be able to provide for our local schools and be able to take that burden off them so they can have their students experience these amazing field trips. We also were able to provide additional scholarships for our displaced students. That was about 545 students from any school received displaced scholarships to attend our Keiki Whale Watches. And again, I hope you see all of these smiling faces on your screen and get excited. These faces would not be here. They wouldn't be able to attend our programs if it weren't for the amazing support through grants and donations that were able to support us helping these students. So again, thank you so much. And I am going to pass it off to our next slides. Back to Bree.
I love their programs. Education does amazing work. And now I'm going to talk about our For Da Keiki events. So if we go to the next slide. Our For Da Keiki events happened right after the fires in an effort to try to provide keiki kids with, one slide back, sorry, that's the timeline. Oh, there you go, perfect. The photos of our keiki event. In order to provide keiki who were mostly affected by the fires with immediate needs like backpacks and notebooks and pens and pencils, but also a day where they can just get together and have fun and play and listen to music and eat really good food, and also learn from the different organizations that came to participate at this event. So this is a free event for the Maui community. And at that time, it was to try to get a lot of these immediate needs to families after the fires, but it has now sprouted out to this amazing program and event where kids just get together and they have fun and they learn from community organizations and they win fun raffles. And so we'll go into the timeline of things, the next slide. And we had our first one, as I mentioned, in September, and that was of 2023. And that was in partnership with the Native Hawaiian Philanthropy. And we developed many partnerships after our first Keiki event. So we've had many different organizations come and have face-to-face time with community members so that they can learn about what's happening in our Maui community as far as conservation and resources go. So if people needed help with after school care or different programs for childcare, we also had those organizations attend this free event so that there was more face-to-face time. We had our second event in December 2023, which was our theme for that time, Welcome Home the Whales, since whales were starting to come back to the Hawaiian Islands. Our education team had an amazing layout of information, as well as the Humpback Whale National Sanctuary, and a bunch of other marine conservation organizations like the Marine Mammal Center. And we also were doing whale watches during this time. So people could sign up to go on a free whale watch twice that day, the morning and in the afternoon. Our events are usually from 10 to 2, so not too much time, but enough time for people to stop on by and check it out, or at that time, go on a free whale watch. And then in June 2024, this year, we had our third event, which was World Ocean Day. And we have had, I believe, 20 different organizations. You can go to the next slide. And that vary from the Boys and Girls Club, from Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project, Maui Forest Bird, the Digital Bus. So a lot of these amazing resources that maybe Keiki kids and families don't get to learn or involve themselves with as much as we would like to, but get to learn about what's happening on their island, what kind of conservation efforts that they can be a part of and learn from. And we had almost 1,000 people, about 942 to be exact, attend our Keiki events. And as I mentioned, we had 20 different organizations. So it has been amazing to collaborate and work with all of these amazing organizations who have the same mindset of us as community and conservation and protection of our ecosystems. And then we had that fun aspect of performers and giveaways, and we had face painters. And we're going to be doing our fourth For Da Keiki event December 14th, 2024. So mark your calendars for all the Kama'aina or possible visitors that want to come that time. From 10 to 2, we'll be doing free whale watches for Kama'aina. So people who have that Hawaii State ID, which is amazing to offer for our community. And it's thanks to our donors and thanks to the grants that we got specifically from the Hawaii Community Foundation. And we're so excited to continue this amazing event where kids can just hang out, have fun, and learn from everyone around them. And with that, I will pass it off to Susan.
Thanks, Bree. So next, I'm going to talk about our coral reef monitoring program. We started this reef monitoring project in the aftermath of the fires. And Caitlin, can you go back one? Thank you. So we started in the aftermath of the fires. So along with supporting the community, as Bree has been describing, we wanted to respond to the ecosystem damage that occurred. Since ocean access was restricted outside the burn zone, we didn't really know what the state of the reef might be. Utilizing some training that I had received a few months previously, we started a weekly reef monitoring program, working with Maui Pacific divers and conducting this reef monitoring via scuba diving. So we decided to monitor at Maui Wharf, which is immediately outside the burn zone, and also at Olowalu, which we treated as a control site since it's further away from the burn zone. We collected fish and invertebrate indicator species counts, as well as coral substrate photos and photos for creating 3D maps. In this photo, Ken's and JJ are shown, with Ken's is laying out a transect line, which is just a 100-foot measuring tape with some weights strapped to it so it doesn't float away. And JJ is collecting imagery for 3D mapping of the reef. And he's just using 2 GoPros mounted on some PVC pipe and collecting those photos. Bree and myself are the remaining additional divers on our team, along with JJ and Ken's. The Maui Pacific Divers boat has room for 6 divers, so we've recruited divers from the staff of PWF and Pac Whale to assist us as often as possible. 14 different staff members have joined us on these reef monitoring dives, and it's been a great opportunity to work collaboratively between the 2 organizations. Next slide, please. So this slide is showing how we set up our surveys. We return to the same permanent transect location each time and lay out the transect lines. After a few minutes to allow for the fish to return to the area, we begin the survey with the first diver collecting the fish counts using an underwater slate, the second person collecting the coral substrate photos, and the last 2 people collecting the invertebrate counts. And here we just, again, have Bree and Ken's collecting that invertebrate information. And we have, I guess I'm in the middle photo doing the coral substrate photography, and JJ again with the large area imagery process. So we can go to the next slide. Here we have the map showing the areas that we've been surveying. We can see Mala immediately outside of the Lahaina burn zone and Olowalu further to the south away from the burn zone. While we intended for Olowalu to be the control site, meaning it wasn't impacted by anything that was happening, after we began this work, the temporary disposal site for the fire debris was decided to be located just mauka of the Olowalu Reef. It's undetermined at this time what effect, if any, that will have on the surrounding environment. From October to July, we conducted 43 dives. We began weekly last fall and then decreasing the frequency since then due to weather challenges as well as funding availability. We are currently not conducting reef monitoring, but working on data analysis and submitting grant applications to hopefully continue and expand this work in the future. Ideally, we would like to pair our reef monitoring work with locations where community partners such as Surfrider Maui and Hui o Kawaiola are collecting water quality data. Initial conversations with representatives of these groups have been really exciting with great possibilities for future collaboration. Next slide, please, Caitlin. So this aerial photo is an example of our large area imagery work, which can also be referred to as creating 3D maps of the reef. Ken's has done some great work developing our analysis of this technology and has learned how to georeference our reef maps onto larger aerial photos like we have here. This discolored polygon that you see on the screen is updated imagery from Google Maps following the fires. So the entire discolored area is the Lahaina burn zone extent. Ken's created this 3D map, and this work is an important addition to our surveys because instead of estimating change in coral cover, which we've been doing with collecting coral substrate photos, we can actually measure it with this technology, enabling us to accurately track changes on the reef and show them to the public as well as potential funders and other researchers. Caitlin, if you can please play the video. So here we have zooming in from above Mala Reef, which is just outside of Lahaina. And you can see we're zooming down to the Mala Wharf area where there's a boat ramp, and it's zooming into where we've collected this data. And then we can kind of swim along here and view the reef as a 3D map. This technology is really amazing, and a lot of researchers are using this technology now, and it's just a wonderful way to actually be able to show the reef. And as we continue this work, we can recollect this and, using the technology, compare any changes that might be happening into the future. And the technology that we use, the computer program that we use for that, is called Agisoft Metashape, which is a great program that's been really useful for this work. Next slide, please. So something that we did visually observe while we were carrying out our monitoring is this tiny little blue octo soft coral that started popping up at Mala Wharf. So we visually observed this. It didn't really show up in a significant way in our actual data, but this species has been associated with poor coastal water quality. So this is something that we'd really like to continue to monitor going forward as an indicator of water quality challenges. And again, we specifically found this at Mala and not at Olowalu. Next slide, please. So here we have the analysis that we've conducted so far of the data. And this is just for the first 6 months of the monitoring program. And this analysis was prepared by Ken's and JJ and presented at the Hawaii Conservation Conference last month. The analysis is based on the photos that we collected and then processed in a program called CoralNet. This first slide is from Olowalu. Shades of blue are the different species of coral. Algae is shown in the red, green, or brown colors. Crustose coralline algae is the pink, and then gray, shades of gray are representing turf, silt, clay, or sand. If we can go to the next slide, please. This slide is showing the same analysis for Mala. And you can see here at Mala, we actually had 3 transects as opposed to the 2 that we attended. And this was because we had to shift one of our transect lines last fall as boat activity started to increase when they allowed boats to start using Mala Wharf as a boat launching area again. The increase in boat traffic just caused us to need to shift to maintain the safety of our divers. So the key takeaways from these slides are that we did not observe a decline to the coral reefs we monitored. We do believe that there is a need for continued monitoring, especially as the rebuilding phase begins, to ensure that potential erosion or other land-based issues don't become problems affecting our reefs. And we really want to collaborate with community members and other conservation or research organizations that are interested in working to monitor and protect the West Maui reefs. We've made some really great connections so far with groups like Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, the Nature Conservancy, Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and Set Tide. Next slide, please. So another diving program that we started in the last year that I'm really excited about is our Reef Cleanup program. We started this in December, conducting our first cleanup dive. And the target marine debris that we're really going after in these cleanups is recreational fishing tackle that is a common problem on the rocky shorelines of Maui and actually all the Hawaiian islands. We've conducted 11 reef cleanups so far, mainly focusing on Keone OEO, which is also known as La Perouse Bay. In April, we made some rough estimates of the size of the area that needs to be cleaned up and calculated that there may be 8 tons of recreational fishing debris just in a 75,000 square foot area. So far, we've conducted 11 dives and collected 1,569 pounds of mostly lead weights, fishing line, and hooks. We've been partnering with a local community member who melts down the lead weights and gives them away to scuba divers who help with cleanups. Much of the weights were also distributed to Lahaina area divers who lost their dive gear in the fire. We've partnered with Maui Diamond and Maui Pacific divers to conduct these dives. We are excited that with the backing of the County of Maui Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division, we'll be continuing this program through the end of June 2025. Along with the reef cleanup dive work, we are also collaborating with local fishermen to understand their fishing practices and then joining up with Ocean Defenders Alliance to recruit an engineer who may be able to redesign the fishing gear so we can try to minimize gear loss in the future. That would be a win-win for conservation as well as for the fishermen, because it costs them a significant amount of money when they lose their gear, and everyone wants to try to save money and also protect the environment. Look for in the future, we're going to be sharing a video about this project. So look for that in the coming months on our social media and our website. Finally, I'm going to talk about our marine debris rapid response. So in January, Pacific Whale Foundation became the designated marine debris rapid response organization on Maui. This program is funded by the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Aquatic Resources. So anyone who finds a large net or other large-scale derelict fishing gear in Maui Nui waters or on the coastline can call this number here or use this online form, and we will respond and try to collect the debris. So far this year, we've had 11 responses, all but one being a mass of nets and fishing gear that are known as conglomerates. The total weight of all of this debris is 4,021 pounds. About half of the responses have been for nets at sea. Fortunately, pack whale boats or other companies or boat operators have hauled these in. We have a partnership currently with Hawaiian Islands Land Trust at their Waihe'e site to store this debris until we can send it to our partners at Center for Marine Debris Research on Oahu, where they are setting up a marine debris research and recycling facility. And also, I want to note for folks when they're on island, or if you live here, half of the responses that we've had have actually been that we have to go out and dig the nets off of the beach. So we're looking for folks who are willing to join up with us and be on a text list so we can let people know when we have something that we need help collecting. And it's a lot of work, but it's super fun. So I am going to pass it off to the next slide and back to Bree.
Mahalo, Susan. I am going to talk about our Mālama Pono program, which is started in January of this year. It's led by Jess, who is in the photo holding that's Noni. It's a very traditional and cultural practice or use of like health resources, and it would help heal wounds and help with digestion. So that's kind of a little bit about what we do through our Mālama Pono program is go through these different sites and learn from the people who are there who can teach us about what these plants were used for back in ancient times. And then we also wanted to start this program as part of our Mauka to Makai efforts. Mauka meaning mountain, Makai meaning ocean. We have an understanding that everything that happens on land will directly affect the ocean. So it's all about this idea of restoring Aina with the community so that we can help protect our oceans. And we'll go to the next slide, please. And so we've encouraged all of our visitors, kama'aina, our staff, to come out and participate in a Mālama Pono opportunity. The beginning months of this, we were identifying key partners where we could work together and bring hands to Malama Aina to help take care of the land. And so we narrowed our list down to Hawaii Land Trust, Waihe'e Coastal Dunes, which is again one of our partners with our marine debris rapid response, as Susan just said. And then we are also working with Ka'ehu, who is also on that side of Waihe'e. Grow Some Good, located at the YMCA, so more central Maui. Kipuka Olowalu, located in Olowalu. Maui Cultural Lands on the west side, and then Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project, which have spots from Ho'okipa to the west side of Maui to South Maui. And then Kealia Pond National Wetland Refuge, which is in our own Ahupua'a, our section of land. And it's been great to work with them. And then Maui Nui Botanical Gardens, which is also central Maui. And so we had this goal of selecting organizations that were more Aina minded, Aina meaning the land, the ocean, the winds, and then also had a good educational component where people could come, community members, visitors, and learn from the Aina. And so we have Jess here, and that is baby ulu. So ulu is a very important fruit and food for Hawaiians, and we were able to help that propagation. And that's Tej, who is one of the leaders there and helps guides us during our Mālama Pono opportunities. So these are also very culturally rich, fulfilling opportunities to help connect people who want to participate to the land, to the stories, and learn more, get a more enriched experience that way. We try to make this as accessible as possible by providing transportation. We have a 12-passenger van that meets in Ma'alaya. And so if you needed to get to Kipuko Olowalu or need to go to Hawaii Land Trust, you can just meet us there and we'll help transport you to that spot. They usually are anywhere from 2 hours of volunteering. So for example, Grow Some Good is 2 hours to Kipuko Olowalu, which is around 3 hours, or maybe you can spend an afternoon with Maui Cultural Lands, and that one's a little bit longer, 5 to 6 hours, and you have lunch and just talk story. It's great to engage with the community and to develop a deeper connection with all of our amazing partners on Maui who have, again, that same mindset of protection of our ecosystems, and then also just gaining more knowledge about what was done in the past as Native Hawaiians were and are amazing stewards of this land. So anything that we can learn from that has been amazing. And then we will, of course, let you know about what you need to do to be prepared to come out with us on a Mālama Pono opportunity via email. We have our own designated page through pacificwellfoundation.org where you can learn about our different partners and then sign up really easily on a calendar there and register. We'll move to the next slide, please. So what is going to happen when you sign up for Mālama Pono opportunities? What kind of things would you be doing? And when we get to our partner site, we're usually doing a debrief. Sometimes we do Hawaiian protocol, like at Hilt, Hawaii Land Trust, Waihe'e Coastal Dunes, or at Kipuko Olowalu. We have this time to kind of connect to this place and really just absorb all of the ike, all of the information. And so we have different projects from planting native plants, removing invasive species. We learn about what is an invasive species, how did it possibly get here, what are these native plants, how were they used in traditional use. And then we also do marine debris removal. and beach cleanups, which we're going to be doing a beach cleanup September 7th in Maui Harbor from 9 to 11. So mark your calendars for that. It'll be Pacific Well Foundation cleanup with Surfrider and Maui Ocean Center, Marine Institute, and Maui Ocean Center, and Project Reef, which is the local sunscreen here. So we're all going to get together and do that cleanup. But we also have some team members who are at Kipuko Olawalu right now. And then we have team members who are going to Hawaii Land Trust tomorrow. So we usually have 2 opportunities every week for that whole month. So about 8 different opportunities for people to sign up to different times. We do different work, working in local i'a. So that is fish ponds, building of fish ponds, gathering the right pohakus, those stones to build the fish ponds at Hawaii Land Trust. And then also the lo'i kalo, so the taro patches at Kaehu and Kipuko Olawalu and Hawaii Land Trust. So we learn all about water usage and the struggle of water usage in the past, and it's really great, really eye-opening, and really touches the soul. And so it's just been an amazing program that we were able to help create in the wake of the fires, and to help realize that restoration is needed for our lands, for our aina, to help prevent those devastating natural disasters from occurring. So it's all about connecting to place, having that sense of place, and learning from the land itself and from people around you. And if you ever have an opportunity, a free day or a free morning to just go out and volunteer, it is very rewarding and very healing, especially after the fires, just to reconnect to the land. And we'll go to the next slide. And I already talked about this. Why are we doing it? For the community engagement, to foster that deeper understanding of the environment. So we hope that you join us soon. We'll be doing it for hopefully as long as we can, for hopefully your continued support through donations and through participation. So I will pass it off to the next slide. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bree. Mahalo to everyone for joining us today. On this slide are all the ways you can connect with education, conservation, and outreach and get involved in our projects. Bree mentioned our next thing coming up with our harbor cleanup on September 7th from 9 to 11. So hope to see some of you all there. And I really hope that people consider joining us on our Mālama Pono opportunities, whether you live here or when you're visiting. We always have something to get involved with and learn more and give back to the community. So I will pass it to Caitlin, and then I think we're going to have time for question and answer.
Okay, I just want to wrap up a couple things before we move over to our Q&A. First, I want to say thank you so much to Susan, Lauren, and Brianna for sharing the incredible work that they've been doing for the past year and what they're planning to continue to do going forward. And next, I would also like to thank all of you. We wouldn't have been able to do all of this work and kind of switch gears and start doing so much incredible outreach and conservation work after the fire without all of your incredible support. We had so much support from all over the place coming in right after the fires, but Maui is still recovering. We are still working towards rebuilding and getting back on track to where we were at before the fires, and obviously rebuilding those places that we lost. And we're going to be continuing to do that for a lot of years. There's still a lot of work to be done, and we hope that we're able to continue the really important work that we are doing. So if you are able to support through donation, it is so important right now. It is incredibly important that we continue to try to make waves with the work that we are doing at Pacific Well Foundation. If you can't support monetarily right now, consider getting involved and supporting in different ways, whether that's through the volunteering through Mālama Pono or other volunteer opportunities that we have at Pacific Well Foundation. Support is really important, or even if you are far away and just want to support through getting information through this webinar series, anything you can do to stay connected and involved with us, that is super important right now. I want to talk a little bit about our next webinar. So we have our next one coming up on October 24th. It is going to focus on our research team. We're going to be chatting with our chief scientist, Jens Curry, and members of his team from all over the Pacific. We're going to have a researcher from Ecuador and also from Australia. So that is going to be super, super exciting. That is October 24th at 1 p.m. And that is you're already able to sign up for that. So share with your family and friends, and definitely join us back in October to hear about more of our research team. And I'm going to see if we have any questions in the Q&A right now. So the first question I see here is, it's from Sharon Spencer, what sort of metrics or evaluations are we doing to implement measuring community and individual impacts from our work? Susan, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So with our Mālama Pono program specifically, we do have a follow-up survey that we will send out to folks to, measure their engagement with the process. We have similar surveys that we do for our education programs, specifically trying to capture the learning that the kids have been able to do throughout the course of the program. So it's really important for us to measure those things and have that data, especially when we're applying for grants or reporting back to funders about the impacts that we've achieved. So we will be putting together an impact report for all of our work for this year. So look for that in your email inboxes and on our social media, probably around the end of the year, very beginning of next year.
That is the only question I have in there right now. We can stay like a minute or so longer to see if any other questions pop in, but right now that's our only question. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today on our very first Currents of Curiosity webinar with our ECO team, our Education, Conservation, and Outreach team. We can stay on just a little bit longer and see if there's anyone going to ask any questions, but thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Caitlin,
Yeah.
I just thought of something that I want to share out.
Okay.
For those of our supporters who don't live here in Maui, I want to share an invitation for folks to come back and come and visit. The island is open, and we depend a lot on tourism, and we really want to welcome folks back. If you haven't come or you're staying away, trying to be sensitive, there's definitely areas of Maui that aren't appropriate for tourists to visit, but that's a really small area, and there's so much that you can do and experience. So please plan a visit. We'd love to see you.
That still seems like that was the only question. We did get someone saying that great job, very much enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much. And we will be sending out a recording of this a little bit later so that you can share, and we'll have links to all of the important things that we talked about today in that email as well. Thank you so much.